7.62x51 is one of my favorite rounds in Escape from Tarkov. Not only do I feel like it's one of the most reliable, but it can be quite confusing to choose from the different rounds here. A lot of people are in Team M80 and other people think M61 only and many other different choices. And with the new rounds like M993, people are confused. So today we're going to be doing armor testing for 7.62x51 so you can choose the right round for you. So guys, for the armor testing here today, we're going to be testing Ultra Nozzler, TPZ, BPZ, M80, M62, M61, and also M993. These are all the rounds in Escape from Tarkov for this caliber, and we're going to be testing all of them. For the lower pen rounds, however, we're going to be doing a quick leg meta lineup here of Ultra Nozzler, BPZ, and TPZ as they have low pen values. Moving into the armor testing, as always, guys, working our way from level 3 all the way up to class 6. We're also going to be doing some visor testing here today, working our way up from class 3 all the way through till 6. Also testing some decent helmets as well. Going to be starting off here with TPZ SP. So you're going to know 7 shots to the legs with that 60 flesh. TPZ is definitely not your best choice when it comes to leg meta. But Ultra Nozzler coming in at 100 flesh here is definitely going to be a lot better. So you notice that's 5 shots to bring down with leg meta using Ultra Nozzler, but how about BPZ FMJ? So you're going to be noticing that obviously Ultra Nozzler is your best bet if you are going to be doing leg meta. However, I wouldn't actually consider doing leg meta with this round, but if you do decide to do it, Ultra Nozzler is obviously your best bet. As we jump into the armor testing, however, we're going to be starting off here with the entry round, BPZ FMJ. At 88 damage and 31 pen, we should see reliable penetration here up against class 3. We got a chance to one-tap, and we've also got some decent amount of pen here when you're putting consecutive rounds on the body armor. So let's start off with Karasa. You'll see 2 shots to bring down Karasa. And 8 shots for a trooper, but how about Gen 4? You're gonna see 10 shots for a Gen 4. You're gonna see Slick Plate is where it really drops the ball. It's quite interesting though, as we can punch straight through the Karasa, which would be great for punching through helmets, but where you start to run into 5 and 6, you have some issues. But how about the round up from BPZ here? And that's going to be TPZ here today with 20 less flesh, but a little bit more pen. We're going to see a lot more reliability as we work our way in towards the class 4 range. I think the interesting thing about TPZ is one of the rounds that you can possibly get in your Scav Vepr Hunter. But I also think the interesting thing about the TPZ SP is it is quite incredibly cheap. And when put enough rounds down range, and what you're about to see here up against armor, it can be good, especially if you're running a budget setup with a FAL or something like that. However, if you're running through a single fire gun, or, you know, especially bolt actions, I wouldn't recommend it. I'm seeing a 2-tap on Karasa. 3-tap on Trooper, which starts to show that extra bit of pen here. But on class 5, however, you see 10 shots up against a Gen 4, and especially with Slick Plate Carrier, let's put it up against the test here. So we are going to see an improvement across the board, but I think the main improvement here is that extra bit of pen definitely starts to become obvious in the class 4 range. With level 5, we did, throughout all the testing we did, could actually get between 9 and 10 shots on a Gen 4 assault. And as we work our way up to Slick, you're going to see a little bit more reliability. But however, if you're not pumping this out in a lot of rounds up against someone, I wouldn't recommend using it. However, the round up from TPZ and the king here for budget is going to be 41 pen, which is going to notice not only is significantly higher in flesh damage, but also that 41 pen is going to really start to become apparent in the level 4 armors. As we start to test it up here, we're actually going to be switching over to a killer armor instead of class 4. instead of a Karasa, sorry, because of the time spent. We're just going to zip straight through. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It actually helps me, encourage me to do more of these testings. If you have any videos that you would love to see me do, let me know in the comments down below. But let's look up against a trooper here. Now it's a 2-tap against a trooper, and let's work our way to Gen 4 Assault. So 4 shots on a Gen 4 Assault, and this time a 60 out of 60 killer armor. 4 shots up against a killer armor as well, and last but not least, a slick plate carrier. So you're already going to notice a significant improvement across the board. And I think the interesting part, however, is when you look at the durability of these armors, you're going to start to notice that that blunt damage really starts to show through. But eventually the Gen 4 wasn't enough, and neither was the killer to stop the M80. However, the slick really took a beating and put all the way down to 1.3 out of 80 due to the fact that it just couldn't get through. So you're going to notice that blunt damage definitely transfers, and when you look at something like the trooper, it just passed straight through. You can notice by how many hits. But we're going to be seeing a significant improvement across the board here, across a lot of consistency, and especially a lot of better consistency on the class 4 and 5. I think M80 is definitely the budget round entry here, and TPZ is not actually worth your time, in my opinion. If you are going to be getting into this caliber, I would start with M80 if you can't afford much else. Next thing we're looking at here is M62, and my personal favorite, coming in at 79 damage and 54 pen. I'm going to be noticing a lot more reliability up against class 5 armor. Other than the cracked out scavs, we're actually going to be jumping straight into some armor testing here, starting off with trooper as always.
Yes.
2 shots for a trooper, and let's work our way to Gen 4 Assault. 2 shots on Gen 4 Assault. 2 shots on a 60-60 killer, and last but not least, slick plate. Alright, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is where you start to reach the territory of the pen being high enough that you're really going to start to notice it's pretty much always going to be a 2-tap across all armors, except sometimes with M62, especially on Fort Zabralo, you can actually take 3 to 4 hits depending on the way that it rolls the penetration. So this is where things start to really get interesting, and it's similar to 7.62x51R. When we look at something like M61 here with a whopping 70 damage and 68 pen, which is actually incredible, this is where that 2-tap starts to become obvious. So you just saw it there, guys. That's 2-tap on all of the armors. If you guys are enjoying this, make sure to swing by the Twitch if you have any questions about any of the armor testing you saw here today. As always, guys, I also have a Twitter. If you want to know when these videos are posted, I'll post them there. But if you look at these armor durabilities, you'll start to notice that the durability will actually be quite higher because they're passing straight through. And our M61 has actually been toppled in the penetration value here by the new king M993, coming in at slightly less damage here, but actually more pen by 2 points with 70 pen. Is going to be the same thing.
Ready to go.
Once again, 2 hit on everything. So let's have a look at some art helmet testing here. Now this is where things kind of get interesting. We're going to jump straight into some M80 testing up against a class 3 visor. And yes, you saw that correctly. Let's move towards class 4. I think that was quite interesting. We'll get into what's happening in a second. Lastly, class 5. And next, the killer helmet, class 6. All right, so let's have a quick breakdown of here what's happening. I think M80 is definitely the recommendation here for budget when pushing up against visors. We're going to know some weird behavior, but it should pretty much always bounce straight through the visors here, all the way up to level 4. The interesting thing what happened, however, on this level 3 visor on some of our testing is the first round would bounce off and the second one would zero the visor and go straight through. I think this is really, really interesting. As we work our way towards the killer, however, and especially the Alton, you're going to notice the durability is so low, meaning that the Alton actually took a few consecutive shots before the durability was low enough And the killer helmet hit itself here was quite buggy in the hitboxes, but eventually was actually quite lucky and rolled its way straight through. So we did this a few more times, but this time we're going to do some helmet testing again because I wasn't actually happy with the results that we got. Because M80 has 41 pen, it should actually always one-tap this visor. So you're going to notice this time, this person didn't get lucky and it went straight through. And same with class 4. So it should always pretty much be a guaranteed tap on all visors. However, the Alton, this time only actually stopped 2 rounds, whereas the killer got really lucky on the rolls there, and you're going to notice it stopped 4. So I think what's really interesting here is that when you look at the visors once again, this time you're going to notice that it went straight through instead of being zeroed, which should pretty much always be the case if they don't get lucky on a ricochet. But as you move your way over towards something like the level 4 BNTI visor, you're going to notice the same thing. In fact, this visor never stopped M80, which I think is really important when you're thinking about your ammo choice when it comes up against headshots. As we look at the killer helmet, we notice we rolled pretty lucky, in fact zeroed the thing before it went through. And this is because sometimes the penetration value will kick straight through, but as something like the Alton here, we rolled quite lucky and went through on the second hit. But if we look at something like M62, however, none of these helmets will stand a chance. I think this is where the line has to be drawn in the sand. For the sake of money, we're not going to go through and test all of the ammos against helmets, but that is really just evident in how many times we tested this and consistently the same thing. And even when you looked at helmets like the Bastion here with the level 6 plate and the slap on top of that as well on the fast MT, M62 time and time again just went straight through, and M61 would be even more consistent. So I guess that extra bit of money that you spend is really evident when you run up against different levels and really shows that it doesn't matter what they're wearing, these rounds go through. But as we look at the bullet speed between the two, M80 is actually quite faster than M62, and M62 is, however, a less accurate tracer round. So this is a sacrifice that you have to make and choose whether that is something that really bothers you. However, M62 is my personal favorite in the upper mid rounds here. As we look at the difference between M61 and M993, however, we're going to be noticing that M61, although is better in my opinion because it's cheaper and it has an accuracy buff, it's actually moving significantly slower than the M993 round. At 910 meters per second is one of the fastest rounds in the game, making it the best option in my opinion for sniping. So the two are completely different and it's super expensive. So I think when using M993, I would definitely recommend using it in a bolt action. And at the end of the day, guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to press that like and subscribe button. It helps me out a ton. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.